Zadwell and Crosby.
Because we had already done them? I thought so.
Okay, I make
Have to
a,
sign.
Can't remember what I had for dinner, but
motion to accept.
I have one other one to add from North-South River Watershed Association about Chip Shop Day, and they want me to talk about it for a second.
okay.
I make a motion to accept the agenda as written with the amendment Pat just made.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have someone here from the town of Scituate DPW
Representing
representing them.
Weston and Sampson.
Okay, so let's see. On January 6th, well, January 13th, during the 6:15 meeting in the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of the Town of Scituate for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and Scituate Wetlands bylaws to replace water mains on various streets in Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Yep.
Just want to pass this out. I know you've seen this before, but
Thank you.
it's a quick reminder where this falls under the wetlands.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mel Higgins. I'm from Weston and Sampson, and I'm here on behalf of the town of Scituate DPW. And what the town is proposing is to conduct water main improvement along a number of streets on the coast of the town. These lines in red are the proposed work areas. Along Country Way, Hatherley Road, we've got the Lighthouse Road, Rebecca Road, 10th Street. And the work is being done in part to help with the brown water situation that some of these residents are encountering. In a nutshell, what's going to happen is the town wants to take all the old cast iron water main pipe and replace it with new ductile iron. The work is all going to be done in the road, in already impacted area. The work is not within any wetland resource area, except in some places it's in land subject to coastal flooding. It's in the buffer zone, however. So work is in the buffer zone in already impacted road area. Erosion controls will be used and put in place. Catch basin protection will be used. Where there's not curbside, straw wattles will be used and placed in between the work area and the nearby resource areas to prevent sediment migration into resource areas. We propose to do the work in the spring of 2014 and complete it in the fall of 2014.
All of that?
This is not necessarily going to be completely done this year. If we don't finish it, we're going to do it the next year. But we're very mindful of the conditions here during the winter time, so we're not proposing to work during the winter time because of flooding issues. So we propose to start in the spring, close up in the fall. And just to repeat, work is in the buffer zone and in already impacted areas. All the work's going to stay in the roadway, so we don't anticipate any new impacts to resource areas. And as I handed out to you, just to paraphrase the Wetlands Protection Act, activities conducted to maintain, repair, or replace structures or facilities used in the service of the public and used to provide water are exempt from NOI. But as is standard with the town of Scituate, with the DPW project, we wanted to submit the RDA, put it in front of you folks so you're all aware of it, and see if you have any questions, concerns.
Penny?
My only concern is when we had some other work done on Hadley Road, that I would like to make sure that you have extra hay bales and because we had some spots where the hay bales and the silt fence fell apart, and it took over a week to get the stuff back up, so all kinds of garbage was going into
So-
the squash pit pond. I would just like to know that there is extra provisions to protect.
On
We-
site.
Yes, or at the town, down where the sands kept and all that, down the ground, the public ground, somewhere that you have enough provisions so we don't have to wait, because that was one very, very upsetting thing.
I remember.
Yeah, and we kept having rain, and it just was
Well, Pat and I
nasty.
were at a few sites during the sewer project and
Sewer and
sidewalk. There was a few different things that, we did wind up with a lot of rain events.
Yeah, we did.
And,
But you need to be prepared for, is what I'm trying to say.
So how did, just curious, what happened? Did
The silk
bale-
fence fell apart, the hay bale fell apart, and there was, a depression in the roadway there, and there was just all garbage going into the pond.
Yeah.
Yeah. That it wasn't taken care of. I know one time that came right up, the guy who was in charge happened to be here, who was doing the work. He said, "Oh, I'll take care of that by this afternoon." It was a week later.
Right.
And to me, that's totally unacceptable.
Right.
That you need the supplies on hand in case you have a problem, that you can take care of it right then and there. Okay, thank you.
Along the same lines, is there a particular schedule of priorities? Is there an order that this is going to go in? And along the same lines, is there a way that we can know that order so that we can check what Penny is saying?
Sure. My knowledge, there is not. They're still figuring out between my company and the DPW exactly what roads are gonna get done in this first phase. And the best I could say is, when it's completed, we could certainly get you a list of priorities.
Well, typically in an NOI, we would request a letter stating that, a sequence of work and the dates and times, and then usually, every 2 weeks there's supposed to be an update, or monthly, or something to that effect, so that the commission is kept informed.
Okay.
So I think it's something we could certainly get as part of that. I realize you're gonna work on it, DPW's gonna work on it, and then whoever gets the bid's gonna have some thoughts, and you're all gonna try to work at that together.
Right.
But there's no reason that once it gets started, or you're close to it, that we
Yeah.
couldn't have something similar, some sort of pre-construction, making sure that everybody's on the same page. Because I think that's important, that the contractor and the people that are working for him are aware of, in this case, it wouldn't be an order of conditions, but what the contract says you're supposed to do.
Right.
And what you're saying, the reason you're exempt is because certain things are presumed that will be done.
Right.
And if they wind up running a bunch of silt into a wetlands or something like that, then. And in some cases, when the areas, they've put covers over the basins, they've put hay bales up and everything to protect that, but what they've created is a dam. And then all of a sudden, there's 2 feet of water in the road, and somebody's like, well, what are we gonna do? And it's, well, the solution is to kick the hay bales out of the way.
Right.
It might get the water out of the road, but it's, maybe in some cases, you gotta know ahead of time. I don't know if it's in your provisions, but are there sediment tanks, or is there some way, like if they're dewatering?
Watering, it's in here. It's unclear whether that will be needed, but we wrote in the project description, and we gave a detail of it. If dewatering is needed, we'll be using hay bales with filter fabric on top. And it'll either be placed in a natural area so the water could filter down into the ground naturally, or maybe near a catch basin so the clearer water can then exit into the catch basin.
Okay. Sorry.
Quick question. Down the other end of Hatherley, when we were doing the sewer work, they were digging up the streets, then taking that soil out and then bringing that someplace else and then replacing it with other soil? Are they just putting back the same soil that they're digging up, or?
Yes, the plan is to dig up, place to the side the soil, and then backfill it with
Fill it
that
with the same stuff? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless there's something obviously wrong with it, and then there'll be a contingency plan, we'll take it off-site.
I mean, that is Bill's point. When they were doing the sewer work, they had a yard, they leased some property from a local person and had a construction yard with lots of material. Some of it was fairly close to a wetland, and there were issues with that. So like, if you wind up, your contractor may very well decide he needs a staging area.
Yep.
They might need a staging area or a place to keep materials, and that's something that's important to know as well, because if they have big stockpiles of material,
Right.
and then it rains on it, and it's somewhere close by to a wetland or that drainage.
Yeah, I could say that if there are stockpiles, big stockpiles, they'll be surrounded by straw wattles.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna wanna know where that staging area is if it is necessary.
Yep.
Definitely.
Now, from the other project, why would they take out that old soil
We
and
have
replace
no
it with new
idea.
fill?
Have you drilled any test holes in Scituate yet? You'll find out.
Sharp bits.
Yeah, well,
Depending on
If
where
it's-
you are, it's clay,
it
it's
could-
sand, it's ledge, it's rock, it's.
glacial till,
Gotcha.
so there's some stuff that's just not suitable for backfill.
Yep. Gotcha.
That's it, thanks.
Lisa?
I don't have questions.
How?
Well, I was just gonna say staying away from work in the wintertime would be good, and then having a conversation with the contractor so that we could have, find out about the staging area and everything like that from whoever gets selected. Those would be- but-
Well, but assume that while they're doing the water line work, they have to have like temporary water services up on the street, so it's almost like they can't do it in the winter,
Yeah, let's say.
because otherwise everything
They're
would just.
plowing it, yeah.
Right.
The plows would be taking it out or it would be frozen, so.
Right.
I think that's one of the constraints of doing water line work versus, say, sewer work or something like that.
Actually, I do have a question. You're going to be working until the end of October, which could get hit with a storm, not hit with a storm. How quickly would you be able to
Yeah.
make things safe if this in fact does happen? Because,
Yeah, at the end of the day, there will be, the trenches will be backfilled. If the work isn't done and they can't backfill it, they'll metal plate it. So at the end of the day, the trench will be sealed. And so we don't see any issues as far as that's concerned. I don't know if that answers your question.
I think
that
Lisa,
backfill won't come up with water?
I think a lot of times that within their contract, they're gonna have pieces that say they can't go past a certain date because it's not practical to pave and that sort of thing, to be able to put it back together as well. But I think in the water line work, they're gonna have to stop even sooner. Like the sewer work went into November because essentially they could keep working. But if you think about water lines, when they're replacing water lines, they have to remove some of the old water lines. So what they wind up doing is putting a temporary water line up on the sidewalk or up on the lawn.
Yeah.
So they're all exposed, and then there's garden hoses running to everybody's yard. So once you start to get into any kind of freezing weather,
They would have to cease.
yeah, I think they're pretty safe
Okay.
in that regard. But you're right, they have to give themselves enough time to get everything buttoned up and secure before the weather turns.
Well, I think Lisa's talking about a northeaster, like we have had storms
Right.
come in October, a big one, and the whole filling up with water, if you just put a plate over it.
Right.
But hopefully they'd have enough time that the
Exactly, I mean-
weatherman would let us know.
We'll know about that a few
There's a
days
big-
ahead of time
yeah.
to be able to easily.
Yeah.
Is Weston and Sampson going to be the overseeing engineer for the project as well? You're
That's-
doing the design.
We're doing the design, and I can't tell you 100%, but my sense is yes, we are gonna be, but something I can.
I think that's another piece that's important, that actually our contacts be the DPW and the engineer that's, I mean, there's gonna be an engineer on the project that's
Right.
gonna oversee the work.
That's always the case with us.
And they're typically the best contact person for the
Absolutely.
town. Okay. So how do we, in the case of an RDA, if we're gonna have a negative RDA, do we have these extra pieces?
You can have conditions with an RDA, so with DOA, you can have 2 or 3 conditions, and I have, time of year, staging area, extra erosion control devices, set up in a meeting with the contractor and a contact person for the engineering.
Okay.
So those will kind of be
Yeah.
their orders going with the
Time frame,
negative.
Yeah.
schedule, yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, which area they're gonna be in.
You also include the order of priorities, bi-weekly updates.
Yeah.
I think
that-
if we
that-
could have some
yeah.
sort
Yeah,
of,
that would be good.
Okay.
keep us apprised of where they are or what the process, then Pat would have some idea of where to look, you know?
Exactly, helps you folks out. Helps keep us organized as well.
Yeah.
We know that doesn't always work as well as it sounds, but.
Well, we
Okay.
can try.
Doesn't hurt.
Right.
Make a motion.
Is there
for-
anybody in the audience for this? Anybody want to speak to this?
I make a motion for a negative 3 where we have some
that
buffer
right?
zones.
Well, I think it's 3.
Yeah.
Okay,
Second?
All in favor?
Forgot the cheat
Aye.
sheet.
I know. The cheat
I got
sheet's
mine.
in my bag.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Situate Harbor Yacht Club? Gonna make it?
I don't know, how we doing?
Good, how are you?
Phil Spath, with Spath Engineering, and Lieutenant RDA. This is the Situate Harbor Yacht Club, and the sewer department has requested they install a grease trap. Most of the they're getting some grease buildup within the sewer line. So what we're going to be doing is dropping in the sewer line right within the
I'll get
existing,
another chair.
We got.
Go on. We got-
Paul just flew in.
Oh, do you have?
Literally.
Yeah,
sewer line, that's where the grease trap will be located. It's a 3,000-gallon grease trap, and we're located within an 80-12 zone. Here's the V zone, right in here, and 80-12 zones up in this location. We're going to be between.
Phil? You're supposed to read this, yeah, hold on. Sorry. On January 6, 2014, the 6:15 meeting of Town Hall, Situate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Situate Harbor Yacht Club for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and Situate Wetland bylaws to replace a portion of sewer line to install a new grease trap on property located at 84 Jericho Road, Situate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Sorry.
Okay. Again, we're going to be located between the restaurant and Jericho Road and the shoreline that's on the back of the restaurant. And it's just dropping in that 3,000-gallon grease trap within the line, and that's it.
So that just goes right into their existing sewer line?
Yep. Well, there's a small grease trap within the restaurant. You know, all the restaurants have really small.
Right. No, they, Situate, what's your, TK's, not TK's, what's the,
There's
no
one
what?
For Mill Wharf.
No Wharf.
Yeah, and Dr.
Yes, we
Tappan
just
just
did.
had to put one in,
Yes.
because the grease gets into the main line, it
Clogs it.
gels and blocks up the line.
Right.
So they're requesting for all the restaurants now to put in larger grease traps to retain that grease that's in there.
So is this in the parking lot?
Yeah.
It's just, here's the parking lot here, they try to get it within the grease space, a little bit will fall within a push the parking lot.
How deep is that? I mean, is it protected from overwash in a big storm?
It's gonna be below grade, I mean, we're talking about, it'll be roughly 1.5 feet, the top of the tank will be about 1.5 feet below ground.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Richard?
Good.
Bill? Good. Lisa? Paul? Pat? Anybody in the audience?
That's never gonna work.
Go ahead, give him a couple of questions. Just keep him sharp. Seems like a no-brainer. Okay, any idea when they'll do it, Phil?
No, I don't. They haven't wanted to get. Say, depends on what they do.
Yep. Okay, I guess just like the one before that, just they keep an eye open for bad weather if they have it all apart and washes out. Great.
Animal controls alarm.
They really don't,
No?
it's all in the pavement.
I understand that, but if, all right. Yeah, no, if anything would go into the road and wash
Yeah, I
off.
don't think there's much
Yeah,
for erosion controls in this one.
okay. No, I'm just
The only
trying
thing
to
would
think.
be if they had to dewater, they'd want to be careful
They'd have to put some type of,
on sediment tank or something, separation.
Okay.
hay bales, would still take it
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
to be safe. Okay.
A
I make
motion?
Motion for negative
3.
3.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that thing, I tripped over that too, Phil.
I did.
Connell, Great Rock Island, new build, there's a request for continuance to January 22nd.
Excuse me, Carol, is that the 22nd for the Great Rock? Is it-
Yep,
Yeah, because you have to get, you have to give a consultant review, right? Yeah.
right, okay. So I make a motion to continue Great Rock to January 22nd at 7:10.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, I'm gonna recluse myself for the next one.
Do we have something to read, or, no, this is a continuance,
No,
isn't
it's
it?
just a continuance.
Okay, we have 121 Indian Trail.
Also, if anybody's here for 87 Maple Street, that's continued till 22nd.
If they want to.
If they-
Okay.
We can't do that until 7. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have to bring it up again. Yeah, we'll have to bring it up again.
Tad, I think we're okay.
Okay, so we can do this one.
We are doing this one, at least for now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you already got this. I think she already gave it to us.
I got
She already gave it to
Oh,
us.
this one too?
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the one you just told me, isn't it?
No, I had,
Yeah, this one right here.
January
Oh, okay.
13th, 2014?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But thank you.
Good. Good evening, how are you?
Good evening, hi, I'm
Good.
Bill Arnberger here, I'm here with Marty Nova and Barbara Fassell. And since the last meeting, there was some additional information. Barbara has got in her revised plan, I see Josh Bose is here, I said hi to him earlier. And I'm pretty sure he can speak for himself, but we've addressed all the issues that were, a couple of things we were contemplating maybe conditioning last time around. In addition to that, I'll let Marty talk, I think she and Pat were out at the site, a little bit about that, so we think we got things pretty well locked down here, so, at this point, Marty, if you wanna,
Sure. Pat and I met on the site on, it was the 30th of December, and there was, we accomplished two things. One thing was we looked at the wetland boundary delineation, and then we also looked at the one flag that delineates the boundary of the vernal pool that I hung in August of 2013. After we looked at the boundary of the wetland, it had rained an inch the day before, so it was very wet, and we took a look at the soils on the two locations that I did my observation plot, and the soils were too wet to really look at the color. So what I did was, I adjusted the wetland boundary in two locations, flag 2 and flag 4. Flag 2, I moved about 10 feet towards the project, and then flag 4, I think it was about 7 feet towards the project. I had Barbara remove flag number 3 and had her connect to the new flag 2 with the new flag 4. So it adjusted the wetland boundary a bit. The project still meets the setback requirements of your bylaw. The other thing we looked at was the flag that I hung in August. And during our visit at the end of December, the pool was full of water, as well as the adjacent vegetated wetland. And we looked at it, and I provided you a picture that I took that day. Looking at the pool on that day, it was still looking like a classic vernal pool. I don't know how your photographs.
Came out, okay.
Okay, good.
Okay.
The top one is just looking in towards the deepest part of the pool, standing about where my flag was hung, and then the bottom picture shows a picture of the flag, and then the pool is further in and on the side. So, based on my inspection in December, I still feel that the breeding occurs in this pool area, in this depressional area, in the spring, and that the adjacent wetlands, although very important to the pool, in all likelihood, in normal years or less than rainfall, may not have the amount of rainfall to have 2 months of contiguous flooded areas for the breeding and the egg hatching and so forth, so, but I know that.
Marty, excuse me, how far from the project itself are these pools?
Okay, this is a little bit better because I have it colored. This is the old plan, the one on top is the thing. It's 131 feet from the system. And the edge of the system, there's actually a little bit of work. So it's probably, it's less, it's more than 125 feet, which is your bylaw requirement. So.
Thank you.
This is the revised plan that shows the revised plan.
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
That's okay.
Oh,
That's okay.
okay.
That's why I'm here.
Was that it?
That's it, yes.
Are there a lot of trees you're gonna remove for that leaching field?
Maybe I can jump in here. if
Yeah,
that's
would
okay.
you please?
Sure. Again, for the record, I'm Barbara Fussell, and the civil engineer on this. There really is not, in answer to your question, but
Yeah,
I felt the need to get up.
Right.
There
you go.
I wanted to show you, though, that based on your review consultant's comment, which I thought was a great one, he has requested that the erosion control barrier be established as a no-cut zone. So
Right.
everything to this side, which would be the west of that siltation barrier, will remain as is. So there's quite a bit of protection for the vernal pool.
The vernal pool is
Yeah,
down lower.
yeah.
Down lower.
Yeah, it's down.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything here on the site is all natural and protected.
Okay.
And we did our perks up here, so we did perks where there weren't trees.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
That wasn't very heavily wooded there.
Right. Okay.
Hearing from the consultant today, too.
Are we,
Yeah.
Pat, are we hearing from the consultant as well?
Yes, I think, there's two parts to it. One is the stormwater, and I think Barbara and Josh can talk to that, and then we could talk a little bit about the vernal pool. We may have to read through some of the materials.
Right.
But, the letter that you received from Josh, I think it's January 6th.
December 31st, 2003 is the latest letter.
And
Yes.
then, then there was, okay, we received it, right, okay. There's a lot of comments, and it looks like, much of it's been addressed, but I think there were a couple of things that, that Josh had mentioned we may want to talk about.
Okay.
So.
I guess that answers your question, Bill?
Well, are we supposed to be voting on this?
I doubt it.
If I could jump up there again?
You
or
may.
you want Josh, whichever you prefer.
Whichever you like.
Okay, I'll go. Josh and I have been on the phone quite a bit about this, and I did respect his comments very much. I think we have addressed all of his comments. He's in addition asking that a few of them be conditions of approval as well. But I believe the plan itself shows everything he wanted on the plan. There's a statement by me saying that the stormwater meets your regulations. We did the no-cut zone. We've actually modified the basin out front to drain away from the abutters, which is an improvement to what we had before. The overflow where, again, away from the abutters, which is an improvement. I don't know what else we did, but we did everything he wanted us to do and labeled everything he wanted us to label. But it was just a few comments on it should be perpetual conditions of approval. And he's pretty much spelled those out in his letter, I think.
Yes.
We'll get him to, thank you.
Barbara, you were saying that the erosion control is gonna be the limit of cut for in perpetuity? Is that
Yes.
so that-
Yes.
Okay, and that's on here as the.
Right.
Work.
So we would be asking for permanent markers along that line when everything's said and done?
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know if Josh wants to add anything.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from
I
Josh.
don't really have much to add, other than Barbara's correct that she'd submitted an original design that I made a few comments on. I think the most significant comment, other than a few housekeeping items, was regarding the basin. I commented that I wanted to ensure that the basin was drained fully after every storm, so that during, before the next storm, the basin volume was available to receive additional runoff, and that there wasn't standing water in that basin. The revisions to the design that you made do address that comment. The only, I don't know if I call them outstanding, but the only last comments I do have were regarding pollution, erosion, and sedimentation plan. That particular plan and the long-term maintenance plan for the drainage system, I think it's important that the maintenance of the systems be performed, and that should be included as in the order of conditions, because without maintenance, the systems don't act as they're designed. So that was just a recommendation on our end, and I think that's typically, in most commissions, in my experience in Scituate, a standard condition regardless, so.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and Josh, how do you feel about the 125, the 131 to the leaching field at the, from the vernal pool?
Our office didn't review the project as it relates to the Stormwater Wetlands Protection Act and the local bylaw. Our review is limited to the to just stormwater as it relates to your local regulation. So I didn't comment on that. I do believe it meets the requirements.
Yeah.
It has received Board of Health approval as well.
And you reviewed the current plans, and they addressed the issues that you had suggested?
You are absolutely correct,
Right.
yes. My latest
Okay.
letter dated December 31st is based on a review of this particular plan, as long as it's the same one. Is it, Barbara?
It changed the wetland flags, Josh, but that was it.
Yes, I
Based
haven't
on
seen this
the-
plan, but it was based on the, let's see, the plan dated December 26th, so.
More questions, Bill?
Yeah, I
Sorry.
was just wondering if Barbara, if you could go over the specifics of the septic system and how that's been designed, and what protections of those things are.
Yeah, again, that was before the Board of Health and approved there. It's a very high-tech system. It's got a hoot system, which is a cleansing system that's in the tank itself. It draws air from an aerator that, again, gets the biological process going before it's discharged into the field. And the field itself is an irrigation field. It's a drip system that disperses the water to separate it. It's all Title V and DEP's in favor of all of these systems, so it was very appropriate for this site.
Yeah, I had put some information in a handout to you about what, under Title V, the DEP requires 100 feet from the edge of the vernal pool, and one of the ways they address it, if you're close, is through these hoop systems that allow a treatment before it gets into the leaching field. So, I don't know if you wanted to look at any of the handouts on the vernal pool. What Marta had submitted, it was, based on our site visit out there, and it's, you can argue either way. And I think that it's, it's accurate, and I just think that there's other information about vernal pools that is out there. Our bylaw protects a little bit greater than what the state law does, and natural heritage is a little bit vague as to how they define it and what they want for a boundary. So I've put in a handout our definition, DEP's, natural heritage, how boundaries are looked at, just so that when we're making a decision, it's based on as much information as we can.
Did everybody get a copy of this on the vernal pools, Pat? Everybody up here?
Yeah, it's in your brown.
Yep.
May I make a little comment here?
Yes, you may.
If they weren't putting in a hoop system, you know me in the vernal pools, I'd be yelling and screaming. We have seen hoop systems. Greg comes in with them quite a bit now. And I personally, I feel comfortable with that hoot system in that the vernal pool, I know nobody can give us an exact measurement of it, but I feel as though we're really close to that 125 no disturb of the vernal pool, and if the permanent markers are put out there, I feel pretty good about this one. Other ones, no. But that's just my feeling, that the septic system definitely is a benefit.
I think the main
And where
thing-
the drainage to, the stormwater drainage is not going out the back of the yard.
Yeah, I think the main thing we have to consider is in the first sentence, it talks about the goal, this is from Natural Heritage and from DEP, is to assure that the proposed activities will not impair wildlife functions, breeding, nesting, feeding, overwintering, migration. So, the root system takes care of some of the runoff issues. The location of it being on a ledge, I don't know if that's the habitat they're talking about for the breeding animals there.
No, I hear you.
But it's clear that the main pool is out there, probably 125 feet, and that's the deepest section. It's just that there are areas that from year to year varies, and they
Yeah.
can, so that's why I just handed
Yeah.
out our material.
No, well, they're very, very valuable natural resources.
Resources.
We have to protect them. And I don't know, kind of my gut is this hoot system, and it isn't the end all. They'll come up with something better 10 years down the road. But,
Could I just add to it, it's a single-family home
yeah,
with 3
I know.
bedrooms, you know, so it's,
It isn't as though it's a big development.
right, with a lot of flow.
And there will be permanent markers out there. There's not going to be a big yard.
Bill, have more questions?
Yes. Well, first of all, I just want to say that we've gone out there twice, 3 times, to look, then look again, and then go back and check again. So we've been doing our homework on this. Are we looking at some kind of retaining wall too? Is that in the discussion? Because it's on our notes, but.
There is a retaining wall proposed. What we are proposing to do is use some natural rock that's found on site and put an impermeable barrier on the upgradient side of it. So it will be a very natural-looking, functioning wall.
Could you show us on the plan where that's going?
It's the heavy line right there. It will go from ledge to ledge, essentially.
Okay.
That's mostly for protection around septic issues, or is that just
That's to limit our,
runoff?
that's just to limit our work
Oh, okay.
beyond the 100-foot buffer zone.
Lisa?
I was just looking at my notes that we had before, and Pat, you had mentioned that areas of ledge could puddle up. Is that still a concern?
I know that that's where they're located, the septic where they're located, because there's areas that are, impervious. I was talking about more the areas below the ledge there.
Okay.
And the vernal pool, on normal years, may not flood to the full extent, and then some years it does, but,
Okay.
And it has to retain water for 2 to 3 months out of
Yeah.
3 to 5, right?
yeah, 3 to 5, 3 out of 5 years, 2 months or more.
Oh, I think it's definitely a vernal pool. I don't even question.
Oh, there's no question about it.
That it is a vernal
Talking
pool,
about the-
and we will,
Outer boundaries.
Right, yeah.
Penny's certifying it right
no, I'm not certifying it. But I just, yes, I think if we go out in April and March and April, we will have quite a sight to see of the eggs.
And that's on town-owned land that was purchased, what,
Yes,
last
it is
year or the
ours.
year before? or-
Yeah, right.
Paul?
No questions.
Is there anyone in the audience? Sir?
Yeah, Gary Banks, 128 Indian Trail. After approval for construction is granted for this project, what mechanisms are in place to ensure compliance with the approved plans and orders of condition, if any? For example, reference number 136 Indian Trail. Lack of compliance or deviation from plans, understand, have been an ongoing problem. What is going to be done to prevent this from taking place on 121 Indian Trail? Please.
Do you want me, are you guys gonna? I know we're gonna be required to do an as-built plan for the Board of Health, and I'll have to go out there to monitor the construction throughout, the installation of the septic system itself, which is the closest to the wetlands. The house I won't be monitoring, but the septic system I will. And the order of conditions from the Conservation Commission, I would assume, would require an as-built as well. And that would probably require an engineer's certification afterwards.
Yes.
So that's where it comes to play.
Okay, your work has to get signed off by the Board of Health.
Right. It does.
The
The
other work
septic
gets
system.
signed off through the Board of the Conservation.
Conservation will also ask me to do a certification as well.
Okay, what happens to the first, third, and fourth owner? Which one keeps the second and the third owner from cutting down the post Indy's talking about? And cutting off.
It would be the same
trees?
thing as if someone just went out into the woods and started working close to wetlands. They would get a
We're
cease
hoping
and
the
desist.
neighbors will
They-
let us know. I
Yeah.
mean, sad to say, that's the only
Yeah.
thing. We put our orders in, we put our post out, and the second you see something funny going on, people have to let us know, because we can't be everywhere at once. I understand your concerns, Gary, but we can't, make a decision on what might happen 5 owners from now there.
Just for information, I'm not arguing.
Yeah,
just
no,
information.
but yeah,
Okay.
I hear where you're coming
Is this on
from.
a deed someplace? When somebody, the second owner gets it, is he notified that this is gonna happen on his piece of property?
Actually, he should be.
Well,
Bill,
he should now.
Bill.
What is
No, it'll be on the deed. It'll be
It will
Is it
be.
recorded on the deed?
Yeah.
Yes.
But they have to read it.
It's a continuing condition. In the
Right.
order of conditions, it's in the chain of title, and so
Mhm.
it's,
And
Yeah.
if they don't comply with the conditions, the deed is encumbered and they can't sell the house to anybody.
Okay, would they have to show that they've had the inspections that someone was talking about?
Yes.
Yes.
There are some conditions that, once it's built and Barbara submits an as-built plan for the engineering, for the septic and for the foundation, that's the end of it. But there are these other conditions that are perpetual conditions, and that would be no cutting beyond this
Yeah, that's
point.
what I'm talking about.
So they would stay with the deed. You could get people in the future that ignore that, but, hopefully it'll be in there, in the deed, and we'll be checking on it if
So for
anybody.
anyone, I'd have to be shouting all the time that something's going on, okay.
The issue that came up, Barbara, in that neighborhood was that a lot of the ledge that had to be taken out was left in place, and it changed the elevation. So we don't know that usually until there's an as-built, and we say, wow, it's 3 feet higher than it should have been. By then, it's pretty late, so we want to know during the process, that the ledge that's supposed to be taken out is taken out, and we don't want grade changes.
I see
So
the concern.
contours are what we're going to be considering too.
And to be honest, I think because of that unfortunate situation down the street, that members of the board, I know I myself and I would hope Pat, we are going to watch this project closely, because that's a very unfortunate situation that happened. And it got away from us. It's not going to happen again while I'm around, Gary.
One more small comment. In the proposed, on the drawn reserve area, which we're not gonna have to use, but it's on the map, it's in the chart, there's a lovely big oak tree there. I would hope that would remain. It's between the 2 big mounds of granite. Somewhere right close, you could put that wall across there. If you could leave those trees standing in there, because it does hold the hill down, the moisture from them hill into the wetlands. Just a thought.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll save any trees that they can.
This is
Just
nice
if they'd
big
like
ones,
to,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
this.
Thank you, Gary. Are there any other comments? Anybody else? What do we do?
I make
We gonna
close.
go for the orders?
I'm sorry?
That'd be at the end of the meeting. We got to
Okay.
close it first. I mean, I'm ready to close. I don't know about the rest.
Yeah.
you have all the information you need, you can close the hearing.
I make a motion to close.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We're good.
So,
Are you gonna entertain a vote now to vote on, because the last time when we continued this, and I know we had an impending snowstorm or something.
We're gonna discuss them at the end of the meeting with the orders.
vote on what?
Huh?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Oh, 'cause I thought you were gonna vote this also, so would we wait until after you address the other things, and then you, okay, I wasn't sure.
It would be at
but
the
you
end
did.
of the meeting,
Right.
Bill. We do our orders, but we have them.
We'll do them today.
There's been
So-
some draft
Question
orders
is-
put together, but I think we've just discussed a few things that may need to go into the orders, but.
Yes.
I mean, I think they're hoping, because of last time, that if we do have in mind what the vote is gonna be, that we could, have it pretty much finalized as far as the orders and the vote.
Yeah, we would discuss it at the end of the meeting, see if we can put the orders together.
And then vote.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on the orders, sure.
All right, so we'll wait.
we'll try to be quick.
But you gotta go back in the audience and wait, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
What's next? Maple Street.
Oh, that's okay, yeah, thanks.
So, we do have orders ready for that?
Yeah. I have drafts right there. I think it's in your brown folder.
It probably was, and I probably got here so friggin' late, I didn't
That's
see
okay.
it. No,
That's
that's why I was acting stupid there. Frank, you're up for 87
No, I
Maple.
don't like it when we get them at the last minute like that, but we did.
Well, but we are a week late,
Oh, listen,
which was mostly my doing.
no, it wasn't.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We didn't have a quorum
Yeah,
either.
but the weather, and there was
Yeah.
some other reasons, it's not you.
So we may not do them while they're with us, but you'll get the report and they'll start as soon as we get the money from.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
I worked on it.
Yeah.
It was good. We only get one more shot at it before we have to go to the.
So before he gets back, do these orders of conditions?
This is kind of the standard conditions that Carol has pulled together, but tonight we talked about a few things, so we
Yeah.
can.
So there
We
will-
need to add them
We
in.
can add them on tonight.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Oh, yeah.
get
That's
that
why
before-
Frank just left, he thought we were gonna do
Yeah.
it. He thought we were gonna do it right now.
Quick question before he
Well,
got.
but we don't
back.
do them till the end.
No, we can do them at the end.
Yeah.
You know, excuse me. Okay, so, I make them, I believe 87 Maple is asked for a continuance.
Oh, have they?
Right.
Yes, until,
Yes.
so, I
Frank's
make,
been trying to set up a meeting with the town
Trish.
administrator.
Tricia, yeah.
yeah. Okay.
you got-
He has a good idea, but
Different,
unless she gives
yeah.
the okay, then.
So I make a motion to continue 87 Maple to January 22nd at 7:20.
Second?
In favor?
Aye.
Done. Okay, and then we have only old business. You need to wait outside.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that's all right. I didn't mean that, but we'll be getting into conditions now. That's the only reason.
Well,
Well, he can hear us.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
My
but he
mistake.
can't say anything, that's all.
Oh, that's worse.
You can listen.
What about Hanson?
No, he
all depends what they are.
just sit there and be a good boy still.
I know, he was gonna go. I didn't know I could do that.
Yes. Chasing the man away.
Um,
All right, let's see, we got that continued.
So honestly, we actually have two things here that Frank can't be involved with. The order of conditions that we were just talking about, Indian Trail and then Clap Road.
So do you want to do Indian Trail first?
Let's do I would recommend we do Indian Trail first.
Okay, so we have this. Do you guys
Draft.
have this?
Yes.
Draft order of conditions.
It's in your brown folder.
So the question is, what needs
To be
to
added.
get changed or added to these orders of conditions?
Carol she's been typing out several, and then Josh from Merrill had a couple of things that were recommendations that he said should be
Yeah.
part of the conditions, an O&M plan and a couple of
Right.
other things. So, I don't think it's anything surprising to the property owner or to the applicant that, what we talked about tonight, there didn't seem to be any.
The permanent markers.
Permanent
in those
markers.
orders?
Conservation posts.
Okay, we need conservation
Yeah.
posts. And that is gonna be
Post sign.
along the whole property.
Yeah, along the erosion control.
Yeah.
Yeah, the limited work area
Yeah.
along the.
The limit of work area. And what were Josh's?
They're in his December, I think it's the 31st. There's some in the 6th, he's had 2 different letters. Some are in December 6th, but they're O&M plan, I don't know, I'd have to go through this,
Incorporated.
but, yeah.
But the
We
O&M
can
plan, as
incorporate
Josh outlined, was to be
Yes.
included.
Was
Yeah.
to be included.
And then we can add them onto this. If you guys want to see them, we could, but I think they'll be voting on it.
And there's no continuing order in there, right, about the clearing beyond the posts, which we should add.
Yes, in
In perpetuity.
perpetuity,
Yeah.
no clearing,
Yeah.
but it has to be in perpetuity then.
You got a no-cut line or whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, because the markers will be out there.
Pat, let's suppose we get these, we approve these, and tomorrow morning we realize that we omitted something that should be included. Are we done?
For
Or-
conditions?
Yes.
No, we've changed.
I think that as long as we've discussed it, and it's on the record, it's in the public record, and we've got it in the minutes as a possible condition, I think that covers us for the vote. We can't be bringing in new information
No.
after today. but
Right.
Right,
As long as it's things that have been on the table.
okay.
Right, and
we
you
may
gotta
think-
remember, oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, we may think of it, we want plaques that say such and such on there. That may come up tomorrow, but that's not a big deal.
Right, and a
Well, the
lot of stuff
boundary-
is
but the
covered under
boundary
the
lines
general
would
conditions.
have
Right,
those
that
plaques on
pre-construction
them.
meetings and get
I mean,
approval
that's one of
and-
the biggest things,
Yeah.
Okay.
to keep people out of there.
Yeah, this isn't like a subdivision or something.
No.
It's a single house.
One house.
Yeah.
Single house, okay. Did you think of others, Bill? I heard that.
Is 24 gonna survive? Do you have this?
What's that?
I don't think he has it. Well, it might be in the file.
25.
In-ground irrigation?
Be tough to put on a ledge, but,
I don't think we could do that.
yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, and it's outside the resource
Exactly.
areas, so.
I don't think,
So you're saying it needs to be taken out?
I thought that was
I think you're right.
outside of our,
Well, it's outside the
Yeah.
100. It's not outside the 250 of the
Right,
vernal
but-
pool, but,
But it's kind of outside of our jurisdiction.
Yeah, really.
where I was
Right,
going.
Of our
So,
responsibility.
yeah, that's a good point, I'd take that
so
one
you can
out.
remove
Yeah.
that one.
24,
Yeah, and these are the kind of things we could do tomorrow if
41.
if we miss something like that, that's really underwater, resource protection.
Okay. So we're gonna vote an order of conditions
Subject to these revisions that
to
we've
these
discussed.
revisions and the inclusion of the
Yes.
consultants.
Sultans, yes.
Take it away, Mr. Motion.
I make a motion that we accept the orders as written with the add-ons that have been mentioned in the consultant's recommendations.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote the stormwater permit too, Pat?
Yeah, as part of this, we have to take the second step and vote the stormwater
Okay.
permit, so.
Which has been
Right, all the
reviewed
conditions
by an
kind of based
independent,
on.
and,
Yeah.
so we have two engineers that have, yeah.
So I make a motion to accept the stormwater report.
Bylaw.
Bylaw.
Yeah.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aren't you glad you didn't leave?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so,
Some single-family lots don't have to file under the stormwater bylaw, and some do, and in this case, there's going to be change in the flow of the stormwater. There's also going to be tree removal and all that, so some do have to, and that's another reason for having Josh review it.
Yeah.
The only reason.
so do we have Clap Road's final? order?
Yeah, we do. Did you get
Can
them?
you,
Do you want,
can you come back
Still
for
not
that?
invited.
well, he can't come back for that, but we do have other things we haven't done
Can I
yet.
leave it?
Oh, no. I need to.
Well, I just can't vote on Clap Road. I can't
Well,
be
then,
here.
do you want to wait on Clap Road to the
Yeah,
end?
well.
Yeah, we
we're
can wait till the end,
here.
because I
Okay.
think there's some things you didn't get to yet.
Sure.
Did we ever do that at the beginning, or did we just put it off?
We just jumped right into the RDAs.
Okay.
Because
So-
the fellow was here for the
Yeah, that's fine.
water.
So where do you want to, did you guys continue DeVal?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Frank, should we try to pin her down this week? Tricia, with that discussion, or you pin her down, or?
Me?
Afraid. No,
I'll send her an email.
Yeah, and then if you'd want me to come, I'll come. If not,
No, that's fine.
yeah, either
It's
way.
just, because the property is town-owned, the town administrator, we have to agree sort of on how we're going to deal with that.
Yeah.
And we haven't been able to meet up. She's had, I don't know.
budget.
Oh, and
FEMA.
she's into budget now. You might never get
No,
her.
I think she's in at a kind of a midpoint.
Okay.
Well-
I'll email her and
Can
I'll
I
copy
just-
you.
They really can't do anything out there until spring, am I right there?
Well, I think it's good to just get it sorted
No,
out.
I understand that, but the work would not actually take place until spring?
Depends on what they're going to do.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. So we were going to discuss DPW orders of conditions for storm emergencies.
Yeah.
And you had an opportunity to meet with DPW a little bit?
Right, and we realize we have to revise the order, because the order says that they have to return all the stone to the beach. And it's a great spot for it, but we can't order it, because it's imposing budgetary things on them. So what we can tell them what to do is.
But well, we could tell them they can't take it away.
They can't take it away, yep, can do that. And they can plow it, we're asking them to plow as much as they can toward the, down on Central Ave, down toward the ocean side of the street rather than the marsh side of the
Just
street.
fill everybody's driveway up with it. This
Well,
was.
that's what they,
And that's
That's
exactly
what
what they do.
the errant dumpings on the marsh side.
Right.
They put it in yours, Lisa? I went by it, but I couldn't really tell.
No, actually, they really didn't. I was standing outside through most of the storm.
Oh, you were stopping them, I see.
I've got videos, I've got pictures.
Oh, so do
If anyone
I.
wants to know what a house looks like now from this point forward, I have them all.
This last storm actually, as bad as it was, it actually went pretty well as far as what we asked them to do though.
They did do better than last year.
I think they're gonna, I mean, I've talked
It's a hard
to
thing.
Kevin a couple of times, and they're gonna do their best
Right.
to deal with that. But I do think we've always had situations, I mean, kind of like with a lighthouse seawall project was, you know, where they started removing some material from town,
Right.
and they can't do that. The material can't be
Right.
removed. So they're gonna have to figure out what to do with it. Sooner or later, it's gonna build up enough so that their only real alternative is to put it back on the beach. They
Yeah.
can't dump it on the marsh. They
Right.
can't put it in the river.
Right. It's
And they can't
piled
take it
up
out of
every-
town.
I'm sorry, they can't keep dumping it in the marsh?
Right.
Yeah.
Because they did.
At this last storm?
Mm-hmm.
Well-
Rather than drive up and dump big piles, what they're doing is they're pushing it all up on the marsh. Not as bad as it could have been, but when you have a 4-foot wall of cobble and you're taking away the ability of the water to do its job, which means run over the road, over to the river and dump in, instead it hits the cobble and then with even more force flies down the road, which in turn is going to increase the chance of the road being lifted up and all kinds of other deterioration problems.
So where the wall is now that you're talking about, or the barrier, is stone from previous storms? Or stone that was deposited in this last storm?
Just this
Just
last
last
storm,
storm.
just this last storm.
Well, what she's saying is like they pile in a lot of those driveways, and now the people, they're gone for the winter. And now subsequent storms, cuts channels through, because it doesn't get cleaned up until
Right.
the whole season's over.
Well, actually, no. That's like two different things.
Right, but that will
Right.
happen too.
Piling this stone up high. I mean, I literally, this will probably sound crazy, but I put boots on and a slicker. And for me to understand what happens on the road, I literally was going up and down the road. I was out there for 3.5 hours trying to see what was going on. And then after the storm, did the same thing. When you pile the stones on the ocean side, so you have 15, 20 foot high, now the areas where the water can come through under the house on piles is hitting stone. So then it hits the stones and then it comes around. Now it slams into somebody's house, and it's building up force as it's going through there. And now it's crazy. Are we leaving a path for, are we supposed, the whole purpose behind not putting up all these barriers was that the water can flow the way it's supposed to, nature intended. But you've got all these piles, so you have piles on the ocean side, and you've got walls that are being built up as they plow, because as they're plowing, the cobble just keeps going up, and they go back and forth, and it gets higher and higher and higher and higher. And then when it starts to fall back into the street, then they just kind of lift it up and throw it on the riverside. Now you have almost a tunnel effect. You can't leave the stones there. I mean, but you have to see, as you're driving, it's a single lane, the stones are falling into the road, and there are 5 people with 15-foot high piles. They live there year round. I watched these people just sit there in their car and went, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. Our orders of conditions don't address at all the ocean side of Central Ave. The problem you're talking about where the water comes and there's nowhere to go and then cuts a channel and hits someone else's house. We don't have anything in there about that. We have something.
Well, that's because they're piling all the stones there.
Right.
That's why the stones have to put them back.
The other side of the street, they're doing something that we agreed with, was making a cut so the water can get to the salt marsh, and we didn't know.
Essentially, there's two.
Small
Yeah.
shops.
Yeah, they used a paper street to
Right,
do that.
but your issue with that side issue, we don't address that at all, and that's a good point that because it's channeling out someone else's house or driveway.
So you have piles, and you have the paper streets. So the water hits the big, huge piles of cobble on the ocean side.
Yeah.
But now it pushes the stones. Now it's pushing the stones down towards the paper street. Now you have all these desperate people in their homes. They've hired who knows what, because first of all, everybody has a right to be able to park in their own driveway. And so they have to remove them so they can get to their front door. And so now you have a bunch of people just trying to get into their homes.
Well, the way that I see it, Pat, and correct me if I'm wrong, we were there with Pat to meet, and it's a budgetary thing that, if the selectmen can find money to address the issue, they'll go back down. But he was talking somewhere in the vicinity of $70,000 to $80,000
Per storm,
Yeah.
to put back
And
on
he
the
said-
beach.
and the money just doesn't exist.
If they'd give
So
them the money, he'd do it.
That's,
Right.
So I'm saying people have to go complain to the selectmen, and maybe they'll come up
Well, even
with
he
the
said
money.
that at the meeting, that's.
I
yeah.
mean, we can't
Nope.
make DPW remove those stones if they don't have the money. I mean, we can't. make
Well,
them.
but just think about that for a minute.
What does a homeowner do? I can tell you firsthand, I moved some stones out of our driveway,
Yeah.
and, just rearranging them, because they're heavy.
Yeah.
And just to move a small amount of stones, clear off this deep at the end of my driveway, I mean, you can't shovel that.
No.
And it was $550. I can't even fathom what it would cost to remove a 10-foot high pile of stones. That's not right. It's just not right to expect a homeowner to do that. It's not acceptable.
The other thing, if we look at it conversely a little bit, if someone came in and filed for a project to move those stones and pile them up, and it diverted water or whatever, we'd deny the project.
Right, exactly. If someone come in and said, I'm gonna build these huge dunes on the edge of the road blocking the water flow.
Yeah.
We
would
would
say no.
absolutely no, you
Right.
know, you can't
And
disturb
the
that.
counterpart of that argument is that most of the time they're in like 2 feet of water when they're plowing.
No,
And, yeah, he's saying like they can't even see where most of the stuff is going.
Time out. The reason that they have so much water in the road is because there's so many egresses for the water to go from the ocean to the river blocked. I sat there and videoed water trying to go into the lot across from my house, and it was trying to eat away at it to try to naturally go forward. Now, it did manage because you could like see a path. It was like a laser, and it got about halfway through. But the pile of cobble was so deep and it had been stacked for so long, it couldn't get through. If a path was cut through there, that water wouldn't go running down the street. It would come right from the side of my house, and I will show you the force of the water coming, and it would have gone right there, and it would have gone into the river. And there's many other similar places that are blocked along Central Ave that if we could just clear a path, it would be a lot better, because with the water that comes across and goes down the road, it brings the cobble and fills the road. If we could just have them go across to the river, you're gonna have a lot less cobble in the road, and I would believe a lot less work for the DPW.
But here's the thing, in the midst of the storm, who are you going to make go down there and clear that path to the river when there's a raging storm going? Can you even drive a vehicle down
In the
there?
midst of the storm, with the way things are, with everything being blocked, the town just shuts off the end of the street and said, you can't pass. You can't come down there.
I understand, so how can we expect them to take a vehicle down there to open it up in the midst of the storm? Let's face it, the water's
And
coming, the
what,
cobble's
I think what
coming.
Lisa's saying is that with the stones all piled up now
Yeah, now.
on the east side, the water can't come through.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's absolutely true.
And if the water were able to flow through that,
now.
but I think what happens is
Even
that
before the
water,
storm.
but that water also brings all the cobble from the beach, and it moves it into the road. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, we know
But
that.
I did watch the places. Now, here I followed this, and then it hit into the street, and then there was an area here that actually one of the neighbors actually dug out, so the water could actually get through, even though they weren't supposed to dig. What they did was good, because it gave the water a chance. And with that water also went the cobble that just kept, it was going right into the river. So if there were more places where it could just go straight through, in other words, just come through and keep going. I mean, it can't be any worse than it is now, because right now, I mean, this situation is just absolutely impossible.
Oh, I know, what's gonna happen when the next storm comes?
How do you,
Well, they-
what
they-
does somebody do if they don't have the finances to remove these stones from the driveway? They obviously can't afford to live in a hotel, and why should they? I mean, how do you deny somebody a right to go in their own home?
but I think part of this is an issue, it's not for us. We have a set of orders. I do wonder if that we should not be requiring them, though, at some point to take it back. You're saying that we can't require them to put it back on the beach because they don't have the money. But we have plenty of jobs that we write orders, and people have to spend the money to comply with those orders. The town may not want to hear it.
But the
But-
town shouldn't be allowed to be an exception.
I think that's, you know, something to consider.
It's
Yeah,
the
another thing
selectmen.
that came up when
Not
Bill
us.
and I and Rich were talking to them were, because the road gets filled all the time, they're always spending time digging out the road, is maybe they allow the cobble to stay on the road, and then the road becomes higher. Then they're building a road that's higher, and you don't have the drop off and the channeling effect, and the road just becomes a cobble road. Now Peggotty, if you're coming in from Inner Harbor or whatever, it's now you're driving on cobble. to
And we
get to
did the same
back.
thing, I used to maintain a road at Man Hill Beach, and eventually it was washed over, and they keep digging it back down, and then finally they said, let's just spread some more gravel
Yeah.
Yeah.
up higher, and,
Oh, wait, right here.
but we're talking about a public road, and now they want to get 2 feet deeper with cobble or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, it's one stretch, but it's a good half a mile.
Right.
Are the two channels that that they're supposed to be using as channels, are they open now?
One is, I don't know about the
Yeah.
other one.
I
We're the day
I thought
after.
they were gonna do it last Thursday, open
That
up
would
those
seem to me-
channels.
No, there, many of them are blocked. And then the ones that were actually cleared, trucks come by and they just push the cobble and it just builds and builds and builds.
This is since the storm, like
Yeah,
this
this
week?
is since the
Yeah.
storm. I mean, the activity, now, I mean, so now you have people that still can't get into their homes. And now private contractors are being hired to remove this cobble.
And where do they put it?
Usually on the beach. Most people move it back to the beach in front of the house.
Where it belongs,
Okay.
you know?
But it's coming right back again.
Well,
I
sure.
mean, it's a vicious cycle. I don't know what the answer is. You know, because it's coming back the next storm.
Well, the other thing is, and I'm sure the town would like this even less, is to do an estimate of how they say it's $75,000. Well, credit the taxpayers the $75,000, they'll privately contract and do it themselves. Because.
Hold your breath on that one.
How do you?
Good luck.
Yeah.
Hold your breath on that one.
I think we're drifting away from.
Yeah.
I
we
know.
are.
I mean,
But what it is it amounts to money. You know, you pay taxes to have all these services, and when you're not getting the services that everybody else does, that's not right. And you can't tell somebody, you can't dump, $4,000 worth of removal of cobble on a driveway and think that's right. I mean, that's just morally wrong.
Well, I think the piece that we have to look at is, you're saying that you don't think that part of our orders are enforceable in that we're requiring them to
Right.
take it back to the beach. And I guess I'm not quite in agreement with that, but,
Why aren't they
Yeah.
enforceable, Pat?
I just think the amount of money it would take, we're telling a municipality, they have to, come up with 70, 90,000 to do this. I mean, we have to protect the resource area, so we can say you can't put it on the marsh.
See that pile?
Oh, I know.
That's a resource area,
Yeah, right.
okay?
It is.
Now,
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I
Okay.
went
It's a
down there,
developed
Lisa.
beach.
How
I'm
would you
just
like to
saying
come
we
home to
can-
that?
No, I wouldn't. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
what do you do? I mean, this is up and down. You can't even see the the lower level of their house. I mean, there has to be a way, and we have to, by protecting what's going on, because otherwise what you're doing is you're putting the removal, we're saying the town doesn't, you're putting the removal in the hands of the homeowners because the homeowners have a right to go in their home.
Yeah.
And now everybody is going to be an individual doing it. Don't we have less control that way?
I mean, it would seem like this would be a good thing for the selectmen's agenda. I don't know if they have open forum or set up something, because it is, but it's anything that involves the spending of money by the town, it's gonna have to go through them.
This is
I
one of those
agree with
paper
you, that
streets.
it'd be great
that
to have
been
all the
blocked.
stones back on the
Beach,
beach.
but we have no, you're right, it's a select, we
Okay,
don't
nothing-
have,
We don't have the
Done.
purse strings. you
That's a
know,
paper
so,
street. You think the water can get over that? Paper street?
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah. So, so then what you have is you have people doing this. And this is now what's going on to try to remove it, and you've got these, what is that equipment called?
backhoe.
Yeah.
Thank you. I saw 4 of those there today.
Yeah. they were.
And I'll tell you, if I was the one with that 15 feet of cobble in my yard, I'd go to my lawyer. That's probably, I shouldn't have said that.
All right.
On television.
No, we are.
All right, let's keep moving or we'll be here.
But one other thing on Public Works, a quick one, is Musquashkett took a beat in the cobble berm on
Right.
Musquashkett. So Kevin Cafferty has got some money. They're gonna try to they have Riverstone, and they're gonna, around the Riverstone, they're gonna patch up one area. And they've gone to Tricia for another couple of $100,000. To do the job completely, the estimate's like over $600,000, and they'd have to get some kind of grants from FEMA or MEMA or somebody. But they're thinking they may be able to get a couple $100,000, just so that the next storm just doesn't totally break through there. So,
I think it did breach, didn't it?
He asked that we vote tonight that it's okay for him to go ahead and order that because he does,
Yeah, I talked to Kevin.
oh,
as
all
well.
right, that he doesn't want to wait.
yeah,
Wait
he's-
for what?
It's gonna breach there.
Yeah, he's
The
checking
next
with
door,
Al to
down
see if there's an
Squashnet
old
Pond.
water that goes back before.
Cobble Street, it's gonna
recent
breach.
times.
Man Hill Beach is the section between Surfside Road and Egypt Beach parking lot. And it's a barrier beach, cobble beach, and it has been fairly high, and the last storm a couple years ago knocked it down considerably, and this storm took out even more. If that breaches or more water spills over, it fills a whole estuary behind, like on Hadley Road and behind that, and flows all the way to Cohasset. So what they're looking at is trying to raise up a couple of areas. It would be similar to trying to fill in the area down in the 260s on Central Ave, where it's gotten so low that the water's just rushing through. They're trying to put stone in a couple of these really low areas to stop that from. And they have limited budget. They'd like to put some stone in some of these spots, and they're gonna use a similar stone, Pat said, a river wash stone, so it's rounded as opposed to jagged edges. It's supposed to move more, like the cobble beach does, and they just want to put that in a couple of spots where it really got washed out.
There's also a dredging project that they're planning with Marshfield, and one of the target beaches is probably gonna be the north end of Hummerock. So if they could dredge and deposit, beach nourishment all on the ocean side of the houses up there. There's actually some cobble that's washed in around Third Cliff, so they have a lot of cobble at the mouth of the river.
I think he's
But
just
it's
letting us
early
know
in
that he's gonna
the
try to.
stage right now. I know they have Marshfield and Scituate looking at it, so
This is for the north end?
the north end.
Really? Up towards the cliff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if you put some riprap in there, that would make it would make such a difference. Well, you're talking about all the expense of trying to not have all the stones come over.
But I don't think the state will let us put the riprap in, will they?
Well, but if you, what the problem down there, if you go down the end of the beach where I am, you have a very shallow beach gradient, and you have sandbars.
Yeah.
And the waves start breaking way out, and by the time the waves get to the beach, they've dissipated a lot of their energy, and you get a little overwash. What happens down there, Central Ave, you have a very steep beach gradient.
Yeah.
These big waves come up all the way in. They don't break till they hit the houses. So if you nourish out in front and make sandbars
Yeah.
and change the gradient, it will change.
Oh, that would take
It will
away
help.
a lot of the strength.
Yeah.
But the combination of the two would make a huge difference.
But I thought, Pat, the
It's a
dredging
natural
that,
way.
the,
It's gotta be a different project, Penny. You're
Oh,
thinking,
this is
you're thinking
another-
Marshfield Yacht
Yeah.
Club. That's
Yeah.
already started.
okay.
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
were gonna do
But
it
That's why,
down there.
that's why I asked, yes.
Yeah,
But
okay.
It's gotta be a new project.
Good.
They've
Yeah, this is
been
brand new.
aggressive about getting sand, Marshfield has.
So what do we do for Kevin, though? Can we just go back to that? Do we have to vote on that as an emergency order? Or just tell him, yes, go ahead?
They're
I think-
going,
Go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, they're going out to bid. It's gonna be February before they have to do anything. So I talked to Sean today and I said, Sean, if we don't have anything in the past from Al, then he needs to start filing a notice with us.
Okay,
So-
what about I thought Kevin this afternoon when I was in the office, remember? Kevin came in and asked you if we could vote on it tonight.
Right, vote on, no, he asked if we would allow him to get started in the process, and he can. He
That's
can
what I
start,
mean.
yeah,
Oh, so you
yeah.
gave him the, all right,
Yeah, and
that's,
Sean will be the one doing the paperwork, and
Yeah.
then he'll get it into us.
But I think the other thing we're gonna look for is whether we have any existing orders
Right.
for pieces of that. Because like towards Surfside Road, we allowed some gabion baskets to be done. We also had some other things that we allowed at Man Hill. So we may have some standing orders
Okay.
for a couple of these places.
Is that what you mean? Minor to Humrock?
Is that the road
No,
cleanup
that-
one?
that-
That's the road
well, that's-
cleanup, yeah. Frank, how long ago was the Gavion Baskets project? Way long time ago?
I was on the commission, so
Yeah.
it's
but it was
probably.
before me, I don't remember that.
7 or 8 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, because it was
That's what I
before
asked, I
me.
said, Al must have something around and right.
I'm not sure that was,
It was way before that.
Yeah.
No.
But he's been using something.
but I'm not sure that that was a town project or if it was a private project. The people at the end of Surfside trying to,
Yeah, yeah, whatever.
Oh, the guy that had the TV Carol and I looked through the files upstairs and in our office. We couldn't find stuff, but Al, check with Al.
These were just the standard orders, this minor town road.
Yeah.
I don't think it's what Frank
Okay.
was looking for.
Yeah, this is more
I think we just did these
restoring
a
that
year
buried beach
ago or
on Man Hill.
something. Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, what else we got?
these are pretty recent.
Revised plan 129.
So
Turner.
where are we left with what DPW is doing?
I mean, I think if it's gonna be the spending of money by the town, I think it has to go to the selectmen level. You know, we've been allowing them for emergency purposes only to create that one lane. You know, I don't know, what do you guys think we should do in this? I mean, we could find out from DEP how much we can push a condition that we require stone going back on the beach, but I think it's still gonna have to be a vote by the selectmen on that.
My understanding from last year was that they would only do it at one time.
At the end of the year.
At the end of the year, in the spring, that at that point, they would put everything back on the beach.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, they're reluctant to
But
waste.
they aren't doing that, and they haven't been doing that.
Did they
That
do
would
it?
be better
Yeah, they did
than-
put it back.
Did they do it last year?
Oh, they did?
They put some of it back, but the private citizens did most of it.
Right.
The first storm last year, they put it back and it wiped out the budget and they didn't touch it the rest of the year. Then it was all private
Right.
after that. And that's why they were afraid this year to say they were gonna do it, because if you get 2 or 3 storms, it.
Well,
And like you say, all the people that are living there, they have no choice but to do it themselves, and so that's a part of it that they don't have to do later.
Well, I mean,
It's official.
if the town at the end of the season would put it back on the beach, okay? Maybe if we gave them a list of people that are there year-round versus the people that are not, I think the people that aren't there year-round wouldn't have a problem with the cobble piles being on there if they knew when they came back it wasn't going to be their responsibility, and that might help work. Because if you have I mean, my understanding is the reason that the path is done, one, it's a town street. But 2, if you block somebody's driveway, how do they get from their house to the driveway to the street? Where do they park the car?
And Public
Right.
Works is saying they'll go along with whatever plan is funded. They'll put all the stone back there every storm if there's money. You know, they're not against doing it, they're not fighting it, they're just
No,
saying,
they
we don't
just-
have it in the budget.
we don't have
So-
money.
So the next step up is higher than Public Works and us.
Now, all the water, what was it, Oceanside and stuff, was it budgeted for over there? Is anybody tracking, like the storms? In other words, to have a better understanding of what we're gonna spend, you need to track and measure something. So if that section usually has water come in, is there somebody over there saying, oh, look, there's a breach somehow, gee, this is why this is happening, so gee, we probably should fix that, then there'd be less water coming over there.
But they
Preventative is-
don't.
I don't
Okay.
think there's much, for Oceanside and Turner and all those places, there was some overwash, they cleared the road just like they did in Humrock.
It's just the water sits there.
And they have an area that they stockpile it down beyond 10th Ave,
Okay.
and they just push it there.
Okay, so if the water sits there, is there some kind of a drain system that, as primitive as it may be,
Well, what
to try
happened-
to help?
The water in those areas,
Give it
the
a
water
bath?
in those
That's
areas
what's going on.
winds up flooding in the basin at the base of like 10th Ave and all those
All the
locations.
number of streets.
And then eventually it dissipates,
It
drains
dissipates
slowly
itself.
back
We
into the
don't do
harbor.
anything.
But that's what happens there, and that's why all those houses flood out, because there's that big marsh wetlands behind Oceanside, behind Turner, and that fills up with water to the point where all those areas flood badly. And then slowly, that water makes its way out into the harbor or into the ground, but it takes days to.
So when that area, is there any cobble that is there that prevents people from going into homes?
It's small, there's less cobble because it's all a seawall. There's a seawall running that whole way.
Is it a town-owned seawall or a
I
private?
believe it's town.
It's town?
And it runs the whole length from Standish Ave all the way down to the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Few areas that it changes, like at Rebecca Road and stuff like
But
that.
it's been there forever, Lisa. It's not as though we just built that seawall.
No, but I'm trying to get an understanding. If the
Yeah.
town is always saying that they don't have enough money, who is putting a budget together? Are they saying, well, we're forecasting X amount of dollars for removal here and for here and for here, and then checking to see, oh geez, we had a little extra over here, oh no, we were way off here, and then to try to determine need. I mean, if you're just throwing an unmeasured number, then you'll fail every year.
Right, but this is like, I kind of agree with Frank, we just condition it the way we want it. We have no budgetary authority here.
No.
We have no cleaning authority. All we
But
can
I
do
thought
is,
we're working with them, so maybe, they're looking for some suggestions.
we can only condition, that's all we can do, how we want it, whatever it is. Like, in the spring,
Let's
it's
just
all
say,
deposited
on
back the beach.
Oceanside, they said, well, we can't do anything with these stones. We're gonna pile it up in an area. And then eventually they would put it back at the beach or whatever, when they had the money to do it. But we couldn't say to them, well, you don't have the money for that. The only other place for that stone is to dump it in the marsh between Oceanside and Hatherley Road. We're not gonna condition that, just like we're not gonna allow them to put it in the South River. Okay? And we can say, you can't haul it out of town, you can't take it away. But, so the only place left for that stone is back on the beach. But what Pat's saying is, and Paul, we don't have the ability to budget for that. I mean, they have to figure out a way to come up and pay for it. And what they're saying, Lisa, is we're gonna try to do it once. We're gonna try to do it at the end of the season. There could be multiple storms. If we run around and clean up all this stone after every storm, then we're gonna be broke way before. Your contention is that by piling this up, then it just makes it worse at the next storm, because you've created a barrier.
Well, I think the bigger concern is when you pile it up in somebody's driveway and you prevent them an egress to their home, and they live there year round.
Well, I think that.
You just can't do that.
Those people have to go to the selectmen.
Right,
They have
this
to
is
go.
a selectmen issue.
We can't do anything.
But,
Go ahead.
I bet you could get at, one of your questions as to how much they budget for different sections of the town, because they know in Glades what kind of work they're gonna have to do in Oceanside. Peggotty, it's sand, it's all sand down there. They plow up to the private way sign. They'll plow it, and then those people have to get rid of the sand themselves, the whole private way, it's all private. So they bring it back out onto the beach in front of their houses, but they have to bring it off their private way. The town does the parking lot and cuts away onto the beach, but every storm, they kind of have an idea, well, we're gonna need so much for sand removal here and stone here and, road repairs at Glades, because it rips up the pavement every year. So-
Okay, so if they have an idea of what they're doing, then they're, with knowledge, not putting the right amount of money to do the job.
But it changes each year too. Some years, you may go 3 or 4 years and not have to spend much of anything, and then other years, like last year, and maybe this year.
Same as snow removal.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah,
instead of having that money stay in the capital fund, then maybe it should go into a fund, so when there's years where you need to draw more off of it, it's there.
As they said, you gotta go to selectmen.
you gotta, I mean, you're talking
Right.
to the client.
Right.
We have no.
Okay.
Right.
It would be like
They're good
town
questions, though.
selectmen, yeah.
Those are
But
good
they have to
questions.
go to the right person.
Right.
But our issues would be, are they putting the material in the wrong place? Are they doing it appropriately? Are they putting it in the wrong
Where
place?
else
And the
can you
only,
put it down?
the only
I agree.
concern that we would have is that by
It's hard.
massing the stone where they are they actually creating more of an issue? I mean, we can.
But we
Yeah,
don't,
right.
where else in Hammerock are you going to put that stone?
But on the
Move
beach.
it out of the way, other than the beach,
Right.
they're not, and they won't do that. to
Isn't
the
there,
end of it.
why can't they put all the rocks where the town parking is for the beach? Town
It's
owns
only
that-
money.
Town owns that
Either way, they're
land.
moving it.
They're moving it.
Well,
Okay.
well.
We can
I-
continue.
Right, okay, but I have neighbors that are going to be asking me, the ones that have got these piles and piles.
They're gonna have to talk to the selectmen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll tell them to talk to the
Go to the
selectmen.
selectmen. We
And the
can't-
woman that she can't get into her house,
selectmen. We can't.
And we can send, I can send an email to selectmen and to town administrator, this came up, this is the issue, and they're gonna wanna talk to you, you know, just to let them know, you know,
Okay.
we heard it, it's an issue, and,
And we're fine with them taking the materials to the beach.
yeah.
They want a place to put it, that's where they should put it.
So then, as far as people removing stones out of their driveway, there's no problem with them doing it, because if the town's not gonna remove it, they have to remove it. So
Beach.
we can't tell them they
Well-
can't if the town isn't gonna remove it so they can get into the driveway then,
Well,
right?
we're gonna allow it through a minor activities permit, but we don't want anything going on the marsh side. Anybody wants to take it and put it on the beach, but they should be contacting us. And I know they're not. I'm going down there tomorrow. I've talked to, I left a message today, but,
Now, the state did that, the state sort of waived
Yeah,
it a couple,
That's not
during
in place
Nemo.
anymore?
No.
Oh, okay.
yeah. I mean, the state is in favor of having cobble put back on the beach. Whether they declare an emergency or not, I mean, we could have 300 people filing just to put stones back on.
Yeah.
You know, if we go out there and look at it and say, yeah, you're not gonna wreck anything by doing it, go ahead, we'll
Right.
give you a permit. We have to have some oversight though, so we're asking them to contact us. And some of the contractors do, and some don't. Some I haven't met in a year that have trucks all over the place now.
Some places too, they have orders, don't they, for 5 years?
Yeah.
Some people do.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
past storms, like that
Rickety
December
has it.
storm we had a few years ago, a lot of people
Right.
came and we
Yeah.
gave them continuing orders for the next 5 years to put it back on the beach. It's a vicious cycle, Lisa. And we don't have the answer for that. I wish we did.
Can we move to another item?
Yeah.
Amendment on revised plan.
Yeah, 129 Turner Road, concrete piers instead of driven piles.
Right, they thought they were gonna be able to move the house and drive in pilings and marine piers, and they're not gonna be able to. So they came back to building with a revised plan to put concrete piers in. Same location, pretty much. I think Carol got plans today through email. I don't know if you guys, they have?
Yeah,
No, they were teeny tiny.
Okay,
but there was a letter.
yeah.
We did
So they
get
have
the
an order
letter.
of conditions to put the pilings in, but now they can't do it, and they wanna know if they can just substitute the concrete.
I would say we could amend that order, but we ought to have a plan.
Right, the wood
Yeah.
came
That
in
shows
today.
that
Yeah,
we're going in
Carol
the
has a
same
plan,
place.
but-
Yeah.
Yeah, they just couldn't move. The lot wasn't as big as they
Right.
thought.
Right.
But they should be dropping off some plans. So they emailed you plans, right? And,
Yeah, they emailed just because they.
well, they need to drop off.
We didn't know
Right.
if you'd accepted as revised plans
Right.
or if you
Right.
wanted them in.
And without seeing it, it's hard to say, but I think what we saw today, you really couldn't see. If they sent in complete plans, we could say, gee, could we do this under a revised plan and not have them refile, or can we do an amendment?
Right,
But-
I would think you could amend that.
Or revise it even, if,
Yeah.
as long as we get the full set
Plans.
of plans.
Right,
but-
foundation,
Yeah.
yes.
Right, yeah. Okay, so we'll let them know, get it to us, it could be possibly a simple way, but we have to see the plans. And
Yeah.
has to be a, structural engineer that does the plan, not some guy in a cellar
Right.
saying, this'll probably work.
Anderson was working on
Okay.
Okay. Lot 57?
57 Crescent Ave, that's the
Well, we've-
stormwater piece.
Lind property in Shadwell.
Well, the Lind and Shadwell, we voted.
That's all taken care of.
Okay.
Yeah, 57 Crescent is the house that they started doing work and they discovered there was an old septic piping system and there was
Right.
everything, and all stormwater. The abutters want to have a chance to talk about this before this gets closed out, because they think they're still getting more than their fair share of stormwater. I think Barbara was the engineer on that.
Yes.
And there was a question whether the water was supposed to be all directed to the back and out onto the beach, which probably wouldn't be great, or out into the street. And so we need to figure that out, but the abutters want to be able to attend a meeting on that. So I
It
said,
still hasn't been worked out, I thought.
the house is being built, but, the,
Remember that has that swell between the
Yep.
houses?
Yes, I did.
And then there's also a question of where does that, like, drain to and all
Yeah,
that?
there was
Yeah.
a, yeah, I
there's a
know, but I-
basin that's on the two property lines, so, I said I'd bring it up, and if, maybe the next meeting, we could schedule it and try to get the property owner and the abutter to discuss this, because, I
On the
mean,
agenda.
they're not gonna get a certificate of compliance unless they show they've met the plan. It's almost like Indian Trail.
Well, are they they're not doing the plan?
I don't know what they have under the ground, that's the thing. You know, they're gonna have to show us what they put in.
Supposedly, when they started to excavate, there were piping there that they hadn't been aware of or something.
Right, I remember that, Frank,
Right.
yeah. Oh, what a mess.
And the original plan had the water going one way, but I don't know what way this guy is putting it. He might be just directing it
All
toward.
right.
Uphill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that'd be
Right.
good, if he could do it.
So, I mean, I can have them all in the room next meeting.
All right. 136, are we gonna discuss that at that meeting?
Where are we?
136th Indian is, Pat Brennan submitted his responses, and there wasn't a lot of detail on there. He did have some recommendations. Did you guys, I think you
Yeah.
got this in an email?
I saw it.
I got it.
I
Okay.
saw it.
It wasn't as much detail, so I think there's some questions we may want to dig a little deeper on. He didn't have a lot of comments on the amount of fill, the crushed rock that's still up there. He did say something had to expand in order to capture all the water, but,
Well, but he did say, Pat, that the existing slope consists of surface stones. The surface of the slope is barely, that it would be very hard to stabilize that slope
Right.
down to Henry's, is the bottom line. We believe that stabilizing this slope will be difficult.
didn't address the tree removal issue though, like
Can you
how
pass me that?
much the trees would uptake in that area. Now it's just runoff, so. But a butter is out of town.
Yeah.
And he'd like to attend the meeting, and Mr. Petroselli should have the right to face the people who have done this, so. So maybe the next meeting we get them on the agenda to try to wrap this up.
Can we have this fella come in? Our fella?
All right, before we have the rest of them, or?
No,
Oh, yeah,
with
Pat
them.
Brennan, yeah, yeah.
Let's have a
Yeah.
little back and
Yeah.
forth here,
Okay.
because I don't think that slope can be stabilized
Right.
either. We discussed that.
And he can bring Grady in, Petroselli can bring.
Yeah, right, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, building continues,
Yes, it does.
It does,
and we still don't have the answer.
with walls. But Mr. Ye had said he wasn't gonna be available tonight, so he, in looking at the plan, may have questions beyond what we had, and he's been at all the hearings, so.
well, because he also says that he doesn't think it's gonna drain to that rain garden the way it is.
Right.
So we need to get a little back and forth
Right.
here with the two, Grady and him. And
Can we get them in for the 22nd?
Yep.
we're gonna try.
Well, I think if they don't come in on the 22nd, Pat, then I think we should tell them that we're gonna give them a cease and desist.
Unless it's our person's cancellation that he can't come in, But I think he can come in.
Well, why don't you find out maybe
Do you know
tomorrow?
also, the person that's most impacted that by is Mr. Ye? Do we know if he's available on,
I know he wasn't today, so I'm not sure about that.
all right.
But
I thought he said he could come.
we could always, get his comments ahead of time, and, we can make sure he's seen it, seen the revisions, and then get us his comments, and then we can discuss them, because we can hold a hearing if it's Grady, property owner, and Pat Brennan, and get the comments in advance from Mr. Ye.
Yeah. I was under the impression from Mr. Ye's email that he would be back, that he was out of the country or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he'd be back the end of the month.
The other thing on this plan from Grady, for this, it shows a pre-construction, pre-development conditions, and then it shows what exists now. I'd rather see the what we approved.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the approved plan, and then when he showed us the existing conditions, then he gave us a revision that would incorporate some new stormwater controls.
I understand that, but what he's showing, this plan that I have here, shows a pre-development conditions, which are almost useless.
Right.
And then it shows the existing conditions.
But I think Pat Brennan had our approved plan and then Grady's proposed plan.
But what I think Grady should give us is what we originally accepted, what was the approved, and then what exists. That's the two things we
Right.
want to see on.
Because they're
Approved
different.
versus as-built, yeah.
Okay?
Okay, so you're saying Grady just looked at what was out there and then made these proposals, irregardless of
The
what
plan
was.
that I'm-
We don't have a plan showing the variation between what was approved and
Right.
the
I'm-
gross difference of what.
On this, there's two plans on this sheet. And the one that's on the left basically just shows where they did perk holes, a totally undisturbed site. That's really irrelevant to me. What I want to know is I want the plan that we approved. And then I want
Next to,
what they've actually built.
Right, but if Brennan has that, doesn't matter whether Grady gave us to us or not, because Brennan's gonna say, this isn't gonna work, you gotta come
Yeah.
up with a new plan.
And is that what he's saying?
Well,
Well, he's saying there were
Essentially, that's
deficiencies, yeah, but,
he's saying that the topography, we don't believe the swale can be constructed, and that the rain garden won't be sufficient.
right. Wasn't
And
a
he
lot of
said the
detail,
slope.
but it did say that it was not a good plan.
All right.
I know what you're saying, though, that Grady should have sent in
What was
the
approved?
original plan and then showed, yeah,
showed them side by side.
yeah.
I mean, he definitely says that slope, and that's Henry's biggest problem. For Henry, the stormwater is our problem, the rain garden, but
But I think in fairness to the abutters and to other folks, I think it's time to just say, you know what, we've ridden this out too long. I mean, this kicked up in July, I think, if I remember right. And it hasn't, nobody's done anything other than a lot of dancing around.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so in the letter, we'll say, you're on for the 22nd. If we don't get some agreement at that point, it's cease and desist,
Yep.
okay.
And we'll give them a laundry list of what we want brought to the meeting.
Okay.
All right.
This has been a long one. They're all long ones. Maple
Yeah,
Street's a
but this
long
one's
one.
getting ridiculous. We're
But
gonna
at
get
least-
into
at
spring and the
least-
rain's gonna start
Yeah, at
coming
least there's
again.
been the engineering review by Opera. That's what we needed to get done.
No.
That's mine.
Okay, what else?
The Driftway Park thing, North-South River Watershed, they're gonna collaborate on Ship Shop Day, and they're gonna do a river cleanup, and they just wanted to find out if it's okay if they're on Driftway Park. And I said,
I've
sounds
always
good.
said, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
In the meantime, though, it's pretty messy, the Driftway Park.
Yeah, it
But the
is.
good news is I met with
Foley?
Foley, and he's ready to go, and his dad, and, you know, they only have like so many scouts, and it's a 6-hour period, so he's agreed to start in on the trail and do from the parking lot into as far as they can get with that time period. But the good news is they have several scouts that need these life badges, and they're gonna encourage them to,
As long as they don't all get credit at this one time. They all have to
no,
do
no,
their
no,
own-
no,
yeah.
they'd like to continue that, and that would be great, so that's good. And then, but I did send out a couple of pictures. I was surprised to see these cedar trees and pine trees.
Decorated.
Oh, yeah.
All decorated. And then lo and behold, I get, an issue came up from someone saying, geez, are they gonna leave all these ornaments and things, they're gonna make a mess?
There's some across the street
Somebody
on
spent some time
Chief
on
Justice
that.
Cushion, too. There's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Look like beer can
took
Christmas
some work.
decorations.
Yeah, I think it's
I think they'd take offense to that, Pat.
Well, oh, they're not?
I think
Oh.
they're lights and things.
Go be in this room.
It was really pretty.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it was neat when they were lit up at night.
Oh, I didn't know they were lit up. I went by them today. Yeah.
No, they had them lit up at night, it was kind of cool. But I might just ask if anybody knows what the, you know, people's.
Who did it?
Well, who are putting, I mean, they're
Yeah.
pretty,
Oh, yeah, but you gotta take them down when.
but I did notice
Yeah.
one tree that looked like it had been left from the year before, which is just gonna make a huge mess, so.
If they could just take a tub and put them in, and so that they can be used again for next year.
Like the rest of us do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
yeah.
funny.
What goes up must come down.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Hillcrest Road, Carol, on the certificate, he did everything he's supposed to do. We went out there.
Yeah, you and I went
Yeah,
out.
you and I went out there, and we just need to order the plaques. But he's got the posts in,
Okay.
and
He-
he took out all that debris out of the left. There was a whole bunch of stuff.
He actually
dumped
did
in
one
there.
of the best
Yeah.
jobs on a terrible site that I've seen in a long time.
Oh, good.
I was
That is
really
nice.
impressed
Yeah.
that he did just what we asked him to. I mean, the backyard is 2 feet wide, but that's all he was allowed, and that's all he gave the guy.
Oh, good.
And then put the permanent post in.
Yeah.
I take my hat off, because usually they mess it up bad. He did a good job.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was impressed.
Is that it? The planning board is reviewing Clap Road on the 30th, I think, or the 31st of January. They're gonna have, their conditions have been sent out, their draft conditions have been sent out, so.
And Wednesday, DEP is coming for 3:05.
Yeah, I think.
No, Wednesday is 2:14 at 10:45 and then Thursday is 3:05 Country Way.
Oh, this Thursday?
Yes, this Thursday
What time?
at 10.
Who is coming out for that, do we know?
Gary McCutch is coming out for one of them. I don't know if he's 3:05 or if he's 2:14.
I couldn't tell you who was coming out, I just know because I put those on my calendar.
Thursday at 10 at 3:05.
Yeah,
I don't have the name with me.
and Wednesday.
But Wednesday, the applicant is gonna cancel, they're gonna withdraw without prejudice if they have the conditions, and then DEP doesn't have to come out.
So we'll know
We'll
when.
know tonight.
We'll wonder if they don't like them still.
I mean, we're at the point where this is them, this is what they are.
Well, I agree with you,
Yeah.
but
I mean, we took their input, we ran it by Jim Toomey, and so that one we can close
We,
the book on.
right.
Are we gonna, we have a meeting at 4 PM on Wednesday. Sort of a workshop to
Yeah, on the
discuss other
WPA.
projects. It's at the WPA, if anybody doesn't know where that is. It's
By
in
North
North
Scituate, by the station,
I
isn't it?
drove around a couple of days ago to make sure I could find it.
Carol has an agenda, did you get that too?
Yeah, nailed it
tonight?
today,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I
And
have
then,
a
do we
key.
wanna try to look at, do we wanna try to go to, Great Rock?
I don't know.
Like 3:15 or so, you wanna do that, or?
Yeah.
It's a pretty big
How long will it
site.
take? Do you wanna go at 3?
Because
I mean, if you guys can get out of work at 3, it's fine with me.
Well,
What,
whoever
for
can
Great
get there.
Rock?
Yeah.
3 o'clock at Great Rock?
Can anybody do that?
Possibly.
Yeah,
What day?
Wednesday.
Wednesday before the meeting at the WPA.
It'd be a good thing to see.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
They are just asking for one house out there, even though we haven't seen a plan.
So
Well, we've seen.
that's what they said.
What they have is a box. We don't have a
Yeah.
plan for a house. They're
Yeah.
showing a large
Just one,
rectangular box.
right? Just one,
We got
How many
an email.
bedrooms?
It's 7.
20,
Trying to get
8
it.
bedroom.
No, the said
A
the
monster.
system was.
It's a monster house, yeah.
yeah. No, but if, that makes a big difference to me, 1 to 5.
Yeah, as
I
long as
don't
it's
know.
not one to get your foot in the door and then
Turner,
more coming later, which sometimes happens.
Oh, no, you owe me a whole island.
Scituate, right
One.
behind the tennis courts.
Okay, where do you meet for the Great Rock one? What's the best place
I
to
mean,
park?
along
That
Glades,
was
can you park
Stone
along
Building.
that seawall on Glades
Yeah.
this time of year?
Yeah.
So right before you hit the private entrance where you start to go up through the
Yeah,
gate.
yeah,
you
right
park
there.
right there, you just walk to your left. In between the houses, a whole bunch of houses all kind of scattered in there, and then we can
Okay.
meet there.
All right,
So it's an unbelievable spot.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Alright,
Unbelievable.
I make a motion, I'm gonna make a motion to accept the minutes for November 13th, 18th, and 25th of 2013, as written.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Okay. Candlewood, you have it on as an enforcement.
Candlewood is, yeah, Donna's enforcement again, it's just about done.
Has he
We get
done
away
something
from it.
else?
Yeah, no, it's just the final stuff that he has, you know, just summarizing what he's still got to do and what's been done.
All right.
It's done, but it's in draft form, I gotta just clean it up.
All right. 1, 2, 3,
So when would that be going out?
5.
It'll go to you guys first, as soon as I can get it done. It'll be this week, but it'll be probably, maybe Wednesday.
Unless we get another storm?
Wow.
Rain tomorrow,
Oh,
no
Tomorrow we
snow.
have FEMA webinar for 2 hours, tomorrow and Wednesday. So this is like the training for the FEMA CRS stuff and all that. Sit in.
Okay.
So we still have to do,
Yeah, we still have to do 214.
I don't.
see, yeah.
Nope, you don't. You don't.
No. Can I ask you a question before you?
Sure.
I got a call today about test pits out at the proving grounds.
Yeah.
I
Again?
hear
Anybody
that's a mess
interested in
up.
looking at that spot, I'm gonna be going out there,
When?
so. I haven't set up a time yet.
Which location?
Definitely.
It's on both sides of Hadley.
I walked along the ocean side of Hadley and saw some of those, but I didn't go inside.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we went out there, they had already started.
They cleared some brush, yeah.
No, they had already started digging
Oh, yeah, yeah,
pits,
yeah.
I'll go with you.
All right,
Somebody
I will,
told me they're
get
out-
the time from him and email.
There,
I'm sorry, did you
What's
say
the
a
road?
date?
No, I don't know
Okay,
yet. It- It's,
okay.
but may not even.
the
be
last
this week.
road there of the Alphabet roads, vinyl, that they're in his backyard, out there with equipment.
Yeah, somebody from Marion Road Extension said they were walking the property line the other day.
Have they gone back to perking again since the last time?
This
Definitely
wasn't
surveying.
perking, this was a follow-up on the environmental testing where the buildings are, where the oil material was in barrels. I guess it's part of the process for what they were doing before. It's a vegetable-based oil, so they were testing around there. But now they want to test new places, so I'm gonna go out and see where they're.
All right, this is the future developer?
Yes, the engineer from Toll Brothers.
Okay. Well, just, obviously, if they're working within, in a buffer zone of the wetlands.
Right, right. They said, oh, yeah, it's all upland, nice. Well, let me take a walk with you,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, this neighbor told me that it's wetlands where they were.
Yeah, but we've heard,
I know that, that's why I'm saying you
It's
gotta
all
go
mapped
right up
out
to
from the old
vinyl.
Pulte plan, so it's not hard to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a full plan of all the wetlands out there.
It's old,
Yeah.
so we're gonna have to take a look, but, yeah. They, I met Mr. Golston today. He came in to talk about the project a little bit, so.
Okay.
Just why you sell us the property.
It didn't come up.
We wanted it, we would have bought it.
With what?
I don't know, they would have bought it, the selectmen.
So we still do that road.
We have one set of order of conditions we have to work on.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm right
are
there.
you leaving, Frank?
Yeah.
Oh, you, good timing.
Want to see some storm pictures?
Go ahead and start talking, I'm not going.
I believe on the order of conditions for 214, there are two things that have to be still filled in.
They came in today. One was the amount of money for the estimate for the replication area, and it's a square footage thing that's used by the wetland scientists. So Brad Holmes submitted it, and it's $1,600. That would be in the last or second to last.
That's all
condition.
we're asking for is
Well, that's what he gave.
1,600?
That's what he gave for an estimate.
That's crazy.
Well, it's just for the replication base. It's not the vegetation for the stormwater basin. That is gonna be, planning board is gonna get that.
We've
gonna hold the
always
bond.
asked for 10, 15,000 to
This
be
is
held.
small, this is like,
Gotta make some real
I think it's less, what is it,
donations.
200 and something square feet is what they disturbed.
What, in that, you're talking the little circle?
This is out where the street is, right at Clap Road. They're gonna replace the stormwater pipe going under
Right,
the
underneath,
street.
yeah.
So they just, because that's in a wetland area, they have to replicate right next to it. This isn't part of the stormwater thing. This is just a small, it's only replication, so.
It's
you
a
know.
very tiny, small area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other part that had to be filled in was all the condition numbers changed
Yeah.
because we moved them all around, so Carol.
We shortened them
redid-
considerably.
Number 'em all, yeah.
We renumbered them, but we have to get the ones that we had marked as in perpetuity and make sure we have the right ones, so that we can do that, Carol and I can do
That
that.
one from Jim.
So,
That's the one from Jim coming?
Jim,
Look
oh,
at the-
yeah.
What
Jim.
one?
What is that?
There was a
46
Three-
maybe, or something around.
Yeah, there were
that area.
3 different things that we had asked Jim Toomey to comment on, and he sent in his suggested conditions.
Erosion control
No,
devices,
Can I
that's,
say it a second?
sure you
And
can.
two of them were, word for word we put in there. Third one, we couldn't understand, and the applicant didn't understand, so we asked Jim to explain it. Then the applicant says, oh no, I know what he means, there's only one word that we have a problem with in there. And it refers to, when you bring something to the registry of deeds, is it recorded or is it, another word with an R?
Registered?
Registered. And he wanted one word changed, and it sounded like, if we have questions, I can run it by Toomey. If Toomey says, no, you want registered or recorded. So it's only one word, and we can get that from Toomey tomorrow.
All right, so my
Yeah, no.
my question is, are these ready to go?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we're-
that one word will be a Toomey yes or no, or,
So we're gonna vote on the conditions.
Wait, I have a question.
yes,
Ask.
ma'am.
The orders, the last ones that I saw, there were some comments here that he didn't like. We're leaving things as is where those blue comments are.
Right, except when we get it, the recorded or registered is the only one that we have to talk to Toomey on.
Okay, wait
And
a
it's just
second.
one word, and
All right.
it's whatever they do ordinarily. No. Registered, okay. And that's what I think we
It's
had
number
recorded in-
46, maybe.
No, it was, oh, no, it was
Okay.
farther down. It was, it's here. It's
Registered
69
land. Okay, yeah.
that Toomey's gonna answer.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
But no, I know what you're
Jim
talking about.
put
The
it in
comments,
there. I'm
we're
sure
not
he
gonna
put
respond to
the
those. That's the way it is.
Yeah,
We're not gonna
I
change
just-
those again.
Yeah, but I have a question from him.
I mean, if, on the last one, if you want to make it 2,000, or, I mean, if,
No, that's all right. I just have never seen that little amount kept, but that's fine. I do have a question here, okay? And it's not a question of the order. I'm fine with the order. It's, number 49, in perpetuity, that one in also number 53. How do we make the homeowners read those two?
Unless the
I don't-
town
You know,
takes.
those are, well, the ones in
what-
perpetuity.
What are they-
Stormwater
what are-
infrastructure.
All of them,
all the
actually.
perpetuity ones?
Actually, yeah, that's kind of my question. It's like, there's where our problem, I don't know if we have an answer or not, but that's where one of our big problems is. We give these orders, they go to the developer, all right? And these are the ones where you can't throw your clippings, you can't throw your stuff because you do have the wetlands. Is there any way for us to make sure that homeowners have to read those?
They go into the homeowner association agreement
Yeah.
as part of the O&M plan, so it's in there, but you're right, it doesn't jump out at them.
No.
The ones we give another shot at are the ones that have to file with us because they are within 100 feet. So there's gonna be 4 houses in there.
Just those 4.
That have to
Yeah,
file with
those
us.
4,
But
right.
it's those other 4 or 5 that we want planning board to remind them, right. And you're right. The other thing that came up that was a big issue was because it's residential open space design development, they base their stormwater calculations on how much impervious, how much pervious, how many trees cut down and all that. We can only tell them they can't cut in our jurisdiction, but the planning board can say, you've used this to your benefit to get your open space design approval, you have to leave all these trees. So that's something that they're gonna be dealing with at the next meeting. And I think it's pretty important, because if you clear the trees, your stormwater calculations are off.
Are off.
Maybe your
Yeah,
basin isn't
right.
gonna-
Right.
So, I mean, it's one of the benefits of, you're allowed to build in a tighter density, but you have to leave more trees. So they may be fine, and then the homeowner comes in and says, oh, I want a backyard, I want to cut these trees. So they need to figure out what they're gonna do in that. Unfortunately, we can't unless it's in our jurisdiction.
Does our order of conditions, does the planning board know what our order does?
They know that, right, they know that it's only the 50 and the 125,
Okay,
so they do know that.
But
And I
doesn't-
talked to her today about it.
okay.
55 address your issue about the homeowners? Part of the issuance of certificate of compliance, sale of the property to subsequent owners, the new owner shall provide a letter to Conservation Commission acknowledging that he or she understands the wetland restrictions and are bound to those restrictions on those lots.
It does, but
Right.
how do we?
How do we
know
make
when-
sure they pay attention to it? I mean, you don't.
Closest we're gonna get.
There's a new guy question right there. That is the rule, but.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Closest we're gonna
We have
get.
people come in here with an order of conditions 10 years old that hasn't been signed off. You
Yeah.
can't
I know.
make
Gotcha.
people-
Or we've had people
just try
that
to
go and
educate.
sell their house without a
Right,
certificate
right.
of compliance.
Yeah.
It's like, how did that get
Gotcha.
past the lawyers? You know, it's
One out of two
frustrating
lawyers
to me.
finished in the bottom half of their class.
I know.
It's when people buy things without lenders, because it's usually the lender
Right.
that makes them.
Right.
So when they buy it for cash,
Right.
No, we've had houses, the lawyers, they don't catch it. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, that's
I
true. They
have
don't
one-
always catch it.
172 Hornet Stetson, that just was sold. There's open orders on that. That was a mess.
Is that on the corner?
Yes, it's the
Yeah.
one on the corner, that was a mess, and they went and sold that.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
All right.
was the open order in the registry though?
Yeah,
So
no,
when
we-
they ran a
Yeah.
title search?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it
no, they
has to
missed-
do
they
with
missed-
the
they missed
drainage.
things.
That-
They missed
You
things.
remember,
And
and
then
it
you have a
hasn't
lawsuit,
been
you have
finished.
title
But he
insurance,
knows
you have
it.
a lawsuit
I met with
against
the homeowner, the new homeowner.
Yeah.
He caught it. Somebody saw it, so he knew that he had to follow it, so. But you're right, the subdivision one is tricky.
Yeah.
There's no real estate person is gonna say, oh, by the way, there's a lot of restrictions in this lot you don't know about. No, that's not-
I
You may
understand, but
wanna
then
think
we're the
twice.
ones
Yeah.
left.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So,
Read the homeowner association.
so do we have these orders here tonight?
Yes.
Are we signing them tonight?
It is a revision to the original order, so it's a revised order, and if you're in agreement, just vote to revise them, and then we'll contact DEP, and then their attorney will withdraw the appeal.
Right.
And then,
And you're comfortable that they will withdraw the appeal?
yeah, if not, I'll go to it, I'll be there.
Can it be contingent on the fact that they will withdraw the appeal?
If they want to appeal, they can appeal, but, I mean, we're done
We've got
with
no reason to
changing
expect they're gonna do that. They've been
Right.
very
So
good
we-
faith in what
right,
we've
okay.
done.
Right.
Yes. So we need a motion to,
To accept the revisions to the conditions.
motion, lady?
I make a motion
You
to
can
accept
make
the
it, fine.
revisions to the conditions as discussed.
Can agree.
Seconded.
Do we have a
Through
second?
14 Club,
I
right?
can't.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Abstain? Abstain. One abstain.
And if we want to comment on the tree cutting for the planning board, I mean, I'm going to be talking to them, but I mean, if anybody else wants to
Yeah,
chime in from the commission,
Okay,
definitely.
okay.
Try and keep as much as we can out
I
there.
have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I guess we can go home. I'll make a
That's-
motion to adjourn.
No, he,
Second.
Oh, I'll second it.
all in favor, we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We may have Kevin back in 2 meetings. From what I hear is police load, he slows down, unless they give him every night shift. Sounded like the February meeting.
Fine. Have a